Hello everybody, it is Jen Hall here. I hope you're well and welcome to another episode of the TruthBomb show. Now today is a biggie for me because I am going to be talking to you guys about big business investments. I'm going to be talking to you about my big business investments, where I have found it to be amazing, where I found it to be a struggle, where I have found what I've done a mistake, where I've been scammed. I'm going to be dishing all the dirt on big business investments and also answering the question when it comes to having invested in people who you've seen and heard and have trusted enough to give over money, and everyone else is raving about them, but once you've had the help, it doesn't seem to have made the difference that you wanted it to have made, and you're questioning, is it me or is it them? So I'm going to be talking about all of those things in this episode. I'm just going to be doing that thing where I just go and check to make sure that I'm actually live and that people can hear me. So if you are wanting to chat to me and chat to everybody, most of the chat happens inside of my group on other corner, Jen. Just here, Unrivaled Experts. That's where you'll find the VIP members of the TruthBomb show, where you can join them, have a chat, and have your say. And I'll be on the comments once the show is finished to go and comment on those. And I've just noticed a really annoying fly which is going to be hanging around my head. So anyone watching, could you just give me some thumbs up, some hearts or something in the comments just to let me know that you can hear me okay and that I'm loud and clear, because that's probably the main thing. So I can see a couple of people have joined me live inside the group. Let me just make sure. Brilliant. Okay. Chamonix on board. Woohoo! She's here. Okay, cool. And she's saying, let's hear it. So I'm assuming the volume is there and that we're all good. Great stuff. So I started this journey making investments of very small amounts. I know we're talking about big business investments today, but I also wanted to just very quickly talk about the small investments, because big is a very, what's the word? It's one of those things that how big is big? We could take that word one way or the other, and big really depends on the level in which you've already invested, the level of which you're already anchored at in terms of your investments. And I remember when I first started out on my coaching journey in this business, I remember sort of like looking at £30 a month on a membership was a massive leap for me. Committing to a monthly payment seemed like a really big deal at the time. And since then, I've gone on to spend thousands upon thousands on my business, which I must say has been the most incredible experience and has boosted my business more than I could have ever dreamed of. But we all start somewhere, and our mindset has to work up to the bigger investments, because we need to see the return on investment. And actually what I've seen is some other people being very, very brave and making huge investments into their business, 10 grand up, who really haven't made that many other investments beforehand and taken a giant leap, and then they've not seen the return on investments. So I would actually, a bit controversial here, if you haven't invested in your business before, I would definitely suggest building up. What I would say is don't go cheap. You do get what you pay for. If you go for somebody cheap, then you don't tend to get somebody at the right level. I'm just going to be honest about that. And if you're watching going, but I'm cheap and I'm really good, start owning your value, start raising your prices, and start positioning yourself, because people do have this belief that what you get is what you pay for, and you are positioning yourself in that lump of people who are charging cheaper prices. Now obviously you've got cheaper investments in terms of the type. So for instance, say like I said, the 30 quid membership, I think it was, that I started out paying, that was a huge investment for me. That price was right for what I was receiving. So obviously we're not going to be overcharging people just because we want to position ourselves as something better. We need to be pricing ourselves at a position that actually matches the value given, right, with integrity. But like I said, it's scary. It's scary making investments at any level. And do you know what? I truly believe if it's not scary, if it doesn't make you go, ooh, then it's not the right thing for you, because you're not fully committed into the process. If you're not feeling that full excitement about it, then you're not going to be as emotionally invested into making sure it's a success. So I started out making those smaller investments, and I soon realised the value that you get for that amount of money. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, right, so if I want to take this to the next level, I'm going to have to really up my game. And I actually invested into a sales coach. And now, once I'd completed this, I think it was a 1 or 2 month intensive as far as I can remember. And it was thousands and thousands of pounds. And I invested into the sales coach, and I didn't get the results that I wanted. I didn't get the results that I wanted straight away. And so I'm going to come on to this in a bit in terms of, is it you or is it them? But even though I didn't get the results that I wanted straight away, I knew immediately it wasn't the person that I was learning from. I knew immediately that it was to do with timing, and it was to do with me and the action that I was and was not taking. And so it really does take a lot of self-awareness to make those realizations. And for me, that's all part and parcel of the coaching. You have to get real with yourself. Are you taking the action? Are you doing the things that they've told you to do? Are you going against what they've told you to do? I'll talk more about this in a minute. And so after giving it some time and being consistent with the things that I knew I should be doing, I then started to see the results following the coaching period. But like I said, I immediately knew that what I got from this person was incredible value, and I went on to invest in them time and time again. Now, when I talk about results, in this instance, it was money. You put your investment into specifically a sales coach, and you expect to receive money at the end of it, right? Now, just prior to this, I had invested in my own clarity coach. So I'm known for the clarity that I bring to other businesses, which is great. But we all need our own clarity. And I needed clarity, and I needed a big confidence boost because I just wasn't owning the gifts that I had. And so I invested in this clarity coach and this confidence coach. And she absolutely blew me away. Now, she didn't get me immediate monetary results either. Now, this is the thing that I need you to look at. Why are you investing in a coach? Now, this particular coach I invested in, it wasn't to do with making money. I knew that it was a puzzle piece to getting me to the stage of making money, but it wasn't a direct result. It wasn't something like, okay, I'm going to put money in here and I'm automatically going to get money out of it. When I invest in a sales coach, that absolutely is the case. You expect to see a monetary return. In this case, I wasn't expecting a monetary return. I got incredible results. My confidence shot through the roof. I got incredible clarity. I understood exactly who I was here to serve. My ideal client, my passion, what my purpose was, and how I was going to go about serving those people. Now, for me at that point, oh my gosh, that was an incredible leap for me. That was an incredible leap that I will forever be thankful for. Not just in the clarity, but in the confidence that helped me own that. Because part of the reason sometimes we lack clarity, right, is because we don't fully own what's right in front of us. We don't fully look at that and go, yeah, that's I have these gifts, and we completely ignore them. And that's what I was doing, and she helped me totally take it, own it, and shine. And so I'll be forever grateful for that. Now, that is part and parcel of how I went on to eventually make the money that I now make in my business. But again, think about why you're making the investments you're making. For what purpose? What are you struggling with right now that you need help with? And we immediately go, I need sales. That's what I need. But actually, is it what you need first? Is it about making the sales? Or is there something else that you need to be focused on? That again comes as part and parcel of this puzzle that we're trying to create, because there are so many different working parts when it comes to running a business. Now, up until this point, I had, made very minor investments into my business. And I'm going to be honest, I made very minor investments into my business into the wrong things. Shiny objects that I thought that would help, and they just didn't. They were people claiming that they were going to be able to help me make the results, but I wasn't doing my due diligence. I wasn't checking them out. I wasn't looking at testimonials. I took them for their word, and I trusted these people. Now, fortunately, at that point in time, they weren't huge investments, so you could scrub them off. But when it's wasted money, it feels big, right? I mean, I don't know if anyone else has spent like a relatively small investment, monthly investment that you put money into, which you look back and just go, God, what a waste of money. And depending on where you're at in your business and where you're at in your money mindset at the time, it can feel huge. It can feel like, wow, that money could have been put here, it could have been put there, and we start to feel regretful. So one of the biggest things that I want to say to you on this show is do your due diligence and really think about your investments before you start to do that. I had somebody this morning message me and go, I think I've made a mistake. Can you just help me work this out in my head? And you do need to look at, what do you need next? What is right for you in your business? And just because it's beautiful and shiny and other people have had and made investments and gotten results, does it mean it's right for you? So you really have to do some work here before you make any kind of investment to work out, is this the right one? And how do you know that? Work yourself backwards. When it comes to business, before you look at sales, you have to make sure that your foundations are in place. And I know the word foundations can sound a bit babyish and can sound a bit like you're not an established business or that you don't have all your shit together, but it's just not the case. You consistently have to look at your business foundations because they can crumble, and not because you've not necessarily looked after them. It's just as the house has moved and how things have gone, things have started to shift, and you need to realign the foundations to ensure that everything else above it will work and will stand strong. So, you continually have to look at your business foundations. It isn't, an immature way of looking at business. It's something you have to look at time and time again. Business foundations, looking at your ideal client. What's your unique value proposition? What's your unique selling points? All of these things are foundational, because if you don't have those in place, if you don't feel alive, on fire about what you do, if you're not on purpose and you don't understand what makes you a wanted must-have, no one's going to buy from you. It doesn't matter how good your sales strategy is. So you do have to look at this. And then obviously, again, I'm going to come to the is it you or is it them a little bit more in a moment. But I then went on, after having these huge successes from investing in these incredible coaches, giving it time, doing the consistent work, and it started to pay off, which is fantastic. And then I made an investment into a different coach. Now, I'm not mentioning names, and I haven't mentioned any names all the way through here because I'm deliberately leaving them out, because what I'm about to tell you is not pretty. So I got on the phone to this particular coach, and it was a huge investment I was thinking of making. And I wanted to double check with them what I was getting in return for that investment. And so we get on the phone, we talk it through, and I get all the yeses. Yes, we can absolutely do that. Yes, that's no problem. Yes, this is fine. We can do that for you. No problem at all. Yes, sir. 3 bags full, sir. I was like, wonderful. This sounds brilliant. And I went away and I started to piece through what was kind of written down versus what I was being told. And it was a bit confusing. So I was like, hold on a minute. You're telling me I can get this, but yet written down this is saying this. So I get back on a second call with this person. And I want to check out and make sure that everything is cool. Yes, no problem, absolutely the way it should be. I'm absolutely fine that you're double checking, but no, we can absolutely do this for you. It will focus on this, we'll do this, and da-da-da-da-da. Then, for the next 6 months, I do not get delivered it. Even after several phone calls where I'm like, look, you said this, I'm now receiving this. I then get a backtrack. I didn't say that to you. I don't know why you're saying that I said that. Now, this is where I have a big problem, because when we come to the is it them or is it you, if they have told you something categorically and then they're not delivering on it, it's definitely not you. It's definitely not you. And if you're sort of a quarter way through the process and it's not feeling like you're covering what you said you were going to cover and it's not feeling right to you, then it's definitely not you. It's definitely them. And this is what I'm so sick of in this industry, is the yeses to get the sales in the door, and then at the back end they either don't deliver, and in this instance it was a case where you could have delivered but you just couldn't be asked because all you was focused on was sales. and getting money through the door and great, wham bam, thank you ma'am, I'll see you later and now I'm going to drop you and not give you the service that you deserve. Or they don't have the skills at the back end of it, which is just disgusting, quite frankly. And even worse than that, sometimes even more so, more dangerous, they give them incorrect advice. So they're giving advice, but they're giving you a ton of BS at the same time, and they're kind of making blanket decisions based upon the fact that perhaps that particular thing worked for them. And by the way, just because it works for one person doesn't mean it works for everybody. And perhaps because they've seen it happen elsewhere, and again, just because it happens elsewhere doesn't mean it's right for you in your business, for what you do, your business model, how you work, your services, and how far you are into your business, how big your audience is, how much money you're making per month, because there's different courses for different horses depending on whatever stage you're at. So all of this is going on behind the scenes, and it makes me ridiculously cross. I even put some, in fact, I'm going to retract what I was about to say because it's going to give a lot away. But I've seen coaches being shouted out by certain, entourages, who I know have absolutely shafted some very, very close business besties of mine, which makes me really sad and really cross that it's still going on. So my warning to you is, make sure it's watertight. If something doesn't feel right, don't do it. You have to do your due diligence. You've got to check out the testimonials. Now, I'm not doing this to scare anybody, but we all know it's happening. We all know it's going on, and there's no point pretending that it's not. It does, and it will continue to do so. So you have to be very careful. Now, it's taught me a big lesson, that mistake. It's taught me a big lesson in following my gut, following my instincts, and not taking things on face value and getting things in writing. I tell you what, contracts are the bomb. You make sure your contracts are watertight. The ones you're signing from other people, read them. Read those bloody contracts. Make sure it's watertight. Make sure you're happy with everything in them. And if you're not, don't sign it. Question it. There is nothing wrong in doing so. And make sure that you supply them for your clients too, to make sure that communication. Contracts are a huge, huge big deal when it comes to coaching and consulting. You need to make sure that the focus is right, that what you've said you're going to deliver, you will deliver. Just end of. So contracts all the way. Don't just assume, because you really, really don't know. And once you've signed it, it's very, very hard to back out of something like that, unless there's something on their side that they've bodged up. Okay, so that's what I'd say. Do your due diligence and read the contracts. Check testimonials, and don't just take the testimonials on face value. If you can, I would even advise you to go and see if you can speak to some of the people who have actually worked with these people privately. Go and have a chat with them. You don't just take one person. Have a couple. Really work at it. If it's a big business investment, doing the groundwork is important, and I think it absolutely 100% is, to make sure what you're doing. So ask for some names of a few people that you could contact and just have a quick chat just to see what their experience was like and get the news from the horse's mouth. So how do you know if you've got that question in your mind and you're thinking, is it me? Everyone else thinks they're amazing. I've had the coaching and I've still not got the results. Okay, so there's a few things that you need to look at. So we've already mentioned a few of them. Are you actually action taking? Are you implementing what they've said? Because they can't do that for you. They can't make you do the work. And if you know that you're not, and you know that you're not putting yourself out there, then there's something else going on. And it's not their fault unless it was their job to help you with your mindset on action taking. Now, this is where it brings me on to my next point of, when we'll talk about these master generalists, don't ever go with a master generalist, I tell you. When you look at what you need in your business next, it might be next, but it might not necessarily be the whole picture. So just like I said, I made that big investment into that coach for clarity and confidence, and I got both of those things, but it didn't instantly mean cash. I needed the next steps after that. Okay, so think about it as a whole puzzle. You need to have the different puzzle pieces in place. So if you know what you should be doing but you're not, then your mindset isn't there, and you need to sort your mindset out. You need to be able to take action in your business, because if you don't, you're never going to get anywhere. If you're holding yourself back from putting yourself out there because you don't feel like the expert, because you feel like you've got imposter syndrome, that needs to be sorted. And that's not me. That's not what I deal with. But there are other specialists out there who do deal with that. So don't think that investing in your business is a one and done experience and that it's going to be the magic pill and it's going to be done and everything's going to be fine. You need various different things. And there's so many different cogs going on in a business that you have to be realistic. It may be after a few investments before you get there. So why did you invest in that person? Did you get that specific result? And if you didn't, so let's say that you invested in a sales coach and you didn't get the monetary return you wanted. Is it because your message isn't right? Is it because you're not clear on who it is you're speaking to? Because again, you could have the best sales strategy. So if you've jumped the gun and you've got such shiny object syndrome and you've invested in a sales coach, some kind of webinar funnel, how to, get X amount of high value clients running webinars type course, and it's not worked. Well, is it because you haven't got those business foundations in place? It might be that actually you need to go back. But when you get that clarity, when you understand the foundations, now that coaching that you've already received will come into its own. Bearing in mind, obviously, it's probably more valuable if you do it in order, because then you can work it out in real time. But it will then mean that those other things that you've learnt will come into play. Okay? So don't be too disappointed if you haven't got the results straight away. And it's also the case of you can learn all the skills, but you've got to go away. Just like my first investment into a sales coach, I didn't get it straight away because I wasn't in the right position. I had to retrain my audience. I had to retrain myself. I had to get consistent with the action, let all of the information that I'd been given kind of trickle through and fall into place before it started to make sense and before it started to work. So you've got to give things some time as well before you start throwing the hands in the air and go, it's not working. Be consistent. Follow the right people, the right actions, and have a strategy in place and keep being consistent. Now, the other few things I want to mention is, are you actually arguing against the coaching experience? So what I see a lot of people do is they invest in a coach and then they go and ask several other coaches the same answer. What's happening? You're getting several different answers and they're all conflicting, and you're not following any kind of one clear strategy, and suddenly everything comes tumbling down and it doesn't make sense anymore, and you don't know who to believe. It really is essential when you invest in a business coach that you follow one, otherwise everything can become very, very confusing, unless of course they're focusing on complementary areas and they stay in their own lanes. But don't be asking the same question to several different people, because it's just not going to work for you. And I've had a client in the past where they've asked for the answers, I've given them the answers, and then they've not done anything with them, and they've argued against them, and I've got the yeah buts and the whatever else, and they've not taken the advice. Now again, in that case, is it them or is it you? It's definitely you. If you're not taking the advice that you've paid for, then how can you expect it to work? At least try it and find out, rather than hitting it before it's even got running. Another scenario that I've seen happen, well, it worked when I had the coach, now I don't have the coach, now it's not working. Now, in that instance, I would say it absolutely is you, that you're not following the same guidelines and advice and processes and ways of doing things that you were when you were having that kind of hand-holding period. They've let go of your hand and you've kind of gone off on a tangent. So in that case, I would look at, what have you stopped doing that you were doing? What's different? What did you change? What have you tweaked? And maybe have a little of a backtrack and look at those things that perhaps aren't going as well as it was when you were with that particular coach. Sometimes that's the case. The fact that you've got almost too much confidence and too cocky. And actually, on that point, I want to mention something. Some of the reason, and one of the biggest downfalls I personally had, and I see happen time and time again, is this whole thing about giving value to others. And when we kind of master the giving value and then pitching and making those sales, and we see how well that works, you're able to master that. that feels incredible. Being able to see the value that you give and the return on investment in terms of sales that you get off the back of giving that value is amazing. But when you do that as a giver, you can sometimes get carried away. And what I've seen a lot of the time is after they've finished coaching, they've gone away and they think, that's what I need to do. I just need to give. Give with boundaries, because this is something Jessica Lorimer taught me. She taught me this baby bird syndrome, and it happened to me. I got so excited and I got myself into this position where everybody loved the value that I was giving, but it would be picking your brains, sending me messages, asking me in my group what, all of these personalized questions. And every time they would cheep, I would go and I would feed them and I would tell them the answers, I would help them, and thinking that, well, they'll see the value and then they'll buy from me. But no, what happens is when you start blurring the lines between giving blanket value that people can apply to themselves and you start actually giving them personalised advice, you just create this situation where people stop buying from you, or they may not even buy from you in the first place because they think, well, if I just need help, all I need to do is ask, why would I pay? And I'm not saying these people are awful people, they're not. It's your fault. It's nothing to do with the people inside of your group or wherever it is that you're finding this. It's to do with the boundaries you're setting. And I used to get so annoyed at people, like, oh, people are picking my brains and they're taking advantage. Only if you let them. Only if you let them. So boundaries are so important in every sense of the word when it comes to business, but particularly when it comes to value. Absolutely good value, but draw a line. And there comes a point where it's, if you want more, yeah, cool, this is where you pay for it. Make sure you know where that line is and make sure you draw it in the sand so that people understand. As long as people know where they are, that's perfect, that's fine. Okay, that's my next step. Give people the opportunity to step up. And I'm just giving you that little tidbit there because I know that if I'd have known that, a long time ago, I wouldn't have made half the mistakes that I have. And I'm hoping that this will help a lot of people, because this is the big fall off point that I see happening at the moment. When people go away from coaching, this is what can happen. So definitely be very careful of that. Other things I've seen is like lack of promotion. So, you're on the call and you're saying, absolutely, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, I'm great. And then they get off the call and then nothing happens. Another thing that I've seen happen is being stuck in strategic mode. If perhaps the result is to go and get money, great, but you're constantly bringing the coaching back to the strategic mode, you're never going to get to implementation. So know that if you want something to happen physically beyond up here, and you want something to materialize in the physical world, you are going to have to take some action. But if people have not delivered, if you've paid for coaching, they've not delivered on what they say they were going to deliver, they've not covered what they said they were going to cover, they've flaked out, cancelled on sessions, and not given that, back or whatever, or consistently cancel or consistently muck you about, then it absolutely isn't you. And that's not the kind of service that you should be expecting when you're paying a big business investment. You're doing it into someone who should respect you as a customer and what you need. And they need to treat you as such. And if you're making a big investment, you expect to be treated nicely, with respect. And part of respect comes with covering what you say you're going to cover and delivering what they said they were going to deliver. So it would be great to hear about your experiences, what you found has happened for you, whether you've had any moments where you realise, oh my God, it's me, it isn't them. And perhaps, let me know if you're thinking about this big puzzle piece of, well, I've got this and I've got this, but it's still not working. Let me know what you think the next step might be for you. What puzzle piece is missing for you? What's left? I'd love to hear about your experiences. So there we go. That was this episode of the TruthBomb Show. I'm just going to check to make sure that there are no questions at the moment. I don't think I've got any questions. Shamini says, great point, we can get focused on sales and forget the milestones that go before. 100%. It's all part of it. And like I said, mindset. It's not necessarily, it's something that comes as a side effect from working with me. Absolutely. It's not something I necessarily focus on. But mindset's a huge deal. Sometimes that's the last puzzle piece. Everyone's got the tools, they know what they should be doing. All they need is that mindset piece that will set them on fire, that helps them own their expertise and go for it. And it's huge, you know, that's a huge return on investment. You know, it's like, doesn't always have to be money. And on another point, just while we're here, talking about things like niches and results and return on investment, you know, people pay to lose weight. You know, you're not making any money out of that, but people will pay for it. People will pay to lose weight. People will pay to get confidence to run their business. You know, people will pay for clarity. People will pay for messaging. People will pay to get their website sorted out. Doesn't necessarily instantly mean they're going to make money, but it does mean that it becomes part of the whole picture. People will pay to learn how to speak on stage so that eventually they might get some clients from doing that. But money isn't always the direct results. And, you know, they're great results in themselves without them being a monetary one. So I think that's it for now. If you guys have got any questions or any experience you'd like to share, pop it in the comments and I will make sure that I come in afterwards and check those out. Loads and loads of love, everybody, and I'll speak to you next time for the next Truth Bomb show. Take care. Bye-bye.